This is the Blaze Radio on demand.
In the next 19 seconds, you could sell your home. Okay, it's not going to sell your home, but you're going to take a big step toward getting it sold. Go to realestateagentsitrust.com and find an agent selected by my team, a professional who shares your values and speaks the truth. Sell your home fast and for the most money. Get moving at realestateagentsitrust.com.
The Buck Sexton Show.
We've got Katherine Mangu-Ward on the line. She is Reason Magazine's editor-in-chief. Katherine, great to have you. Thanks for calling.
Thanks for having me back.
Trump versus Clinton versus everything good. We know a lot about Trump versus Clinton here. Why don't you tell us about everything good?
I wish that all my interviews started that way. So the thing about everything good is it's stuff that doesn't have to do with politics. And I think a lot of us feel that way in 2016, but it's sort of more robustly true than ever when you think about politics from a libertarian perspective or from someone who thinks that government isn't the solution to everything. So, for example, Republicans used to argue and grandstand about privatizing the post office, like in the 80s particularly. This was a big thing. Privatize the post office. Nobody talks about that anymore. Why? Not because we privatized the post office. It's because we have email. So this is my argument, is essentially let's do more of inventing our way out of bad government services, since ending them seems almost impossible, no matter who wins the election.
So it sounds like you're advocating for, and this is my term, so you feel free to quibble, change, or completely deny, but the sort of Uberification of the economy, which I love Uber, by the way. It's changed my whole view of Los Angeles because I don't have to deal with driving. I can just, hop in somebody else's Honda Civic and let them take me where I need to go. We can hang out in the front seat, get to know cool people. It's fun. It's like hitchhiking, only safer. But doesn't government always find a way to ruin even the cool things that entrepreneurs and tech people and everything else create? I mean, we see now there's all this talk about what's going to happen with the internet. They're going to regulate it. What are they? They're trying to fight Uber in certain places. Isn't that always an additional layer of problem that gets thrown on this? I mean, you're talking happy stuff. I should probably just let you, but
no, it's a good point. So basically, the circumstance is that we have to be continually saving ourselves from the terribleness of government. We don't sort of get saved and stay saved. So yes, it's absolutely true that, for every place where we innovate our way out of bad government services, we wind up back in a morass because legislators or governors look at something and they say, oh, that looks new, I better put some more rules on it. And of course, sometimes the entrepreneurs themselves participate in this. There are plenty of people who I would put in the category of totally world-changing and heroic inventors and entrepreneurs who have also turned around quite quickly and become rent seekers, people who are just looking for advantage from the government, including Uber itself, which has collaborated in New York in particular with regulators to keep their competitors out, sort of close the door behind them. And some would say Elon Musk of SpaceX, who is now one of the, he obviously provides services to NASA. He takes government subsidies for some of his other companies. I think that's sort of inevitable, and it's just part of existing in the world. But yes, it's totally true that you can fix a problem only to have it, rear its ugly head again in the form of some guy with a great new idea for a new regulation.
How do you think it is that people who are, particularly people who live in on the coasts and have advanced degrees, seem to sneer at the notion that government is anything other than this wonderful angel that comes down and gives you health care and gives you Social Security, and this sort of I feel whenever Chris Hayes is on MSNBC, and I don't watch MSNBC much, but I'll see that guy. He seems like an earnest dude. I don't even know if you're friends or not, but he seems like an earnest guy. I feel like I'd like to sit down with him and be like, government sucks, right? Like we actually both know that, right? Like I know that you want to talk about people love Social Security and people love this, but everyone's real experience with dealing with the government involves, as you said, the Postal Service, the IRS, you look at your connectivity with government and the programs that it runs, and they're abysmal. Anyone who's ever spent any time in a municipal government building, by the way, it is super depressing, as I can attest to. Why are all these people walking around acting like they think government's so great? Is really that's the question that I'm trying to pose to you.
So I think confirmation bias is a powerful psychological phenomenon, right? This is where it's hard for us to absorb facts that go against the thesis that we already hold, and very, very easy for us to absorb and, in fact, exaggerate the importance of facts that show that our enemies are wrong and bad. So I think if you ask people the question in the right way, everyone will acknowledge that government is bad when it comes to a certain set of issues, right? So, when you talk to, and this is just, you can sort of, I think a broader critique of the liberal conservative dynamic is, okay, so government is totally bad, say liberals, when it's telling you who you can have sex with, but it's totally good when it's telling you what size of soda you're allowed to buy. And then conservatives would say, oh, government is terrible when it's telling you that you can't buy a gun, but it's totally good when we go to spread democracy across the world via our armed forces, right? And I think, to me, this is the place where libertarianism has an answer, which is to just say, maybe it's actually bad at everything. Maybe if we can't even agree on what it should be doing, let's try less. Let's try letting people decide for themselves. And I think it's the same thing here. Everybody sort of can grump about the DMV, but you either see it through the lens of all government bureaucracies are bad and essentially corrupt, or you say, oh, it's a necessary evil, but without the DMV, probably vehicular manslaughter would, quintuple.
Where do you see libertarianism winning on issues on a political level, right? You mentioned sort of private sector. There's sort of, the private sector and libertarianism, there's plenty of crossover there, right? People, entrepreneurs doing cool things without government in the way, great. On issues, though, that we would view as more directly in the realm of politics, where do you think the tide is heading in the direction of libertarianism, regardless of who the next president will be?
So there are a couple of bright spots. I mean, I think when we talk about the classic libertarian issue, drug legalization, that's something that's really making a lot of headway. Some sort of totally accomplished victories about gay marriage and other areas like that. At the same time, I see no reason to think that we'll scale back any of our foreign adventurism. I see no reason to think that we'll scale back any of the massive entitlements, many of which obtain mostly for the middle class or the elderly, who, as a group, have more resources than the young these days. I think I'm a cheerful person. I would like to say, oh, let me just give you this list of all these places that liberty is winning. But I think the better list is the places where the policy debate remains mired in sort of tiny back and forth, just a small gain and a small loss, but it doesn't matter anymore. And that's kind of the point of this this piece that we're talking about. My editor's note in the current issue is to say, rather than say, let's have a bunch of congressional hearings about NASA's priorities. Instead, isn't it cool that the Jeff Bezos of Amazon has like tens of thousands of acres somewhere in Texas where he's just secretly building super cool rockets? That's probably the way we're actually going to get out of the morass.
Huh. Yeah, very interesting. All right, Katherine Mangu-Ward, what's your latest on Reason, or where can we direct people to read the latest of the Katherine Mangu-Ward files?
People can come on over to Reason.com. I would actually, I'll use this little advertising spot to plug something by one of my colleagues. We just released about an hour ago a huge multi-part feature by my colleague Elizabeth Nolan Brown about this supposedly sort of big bust in Seattle of a sex trafficking ring, which her piece is just incredibly detailed, incredibly fascinating. And she lays out how this supposed, sinister cabal of sex traffickers was nothing of the kind, and that it was actually something much more like run-of-the-mill people buying and selling sex voluntarily. Given that sex trafficking is so much in the headlines and that it's sort of this, people are referring to it as modern slavery, including the president. I think it's important to look a little closer at that narrative, and Liz's piece really does that. So come check it out at Reason.com.
All right. Katherine, always great to have you. Thanks for making some time on Friday.
Thank you.
The Buck Sexton Show.
Hey, team, it's Buck. Have you tried a Casper mattress yet? They are incredible. They're obsessively engineered, and they come at a shockingly fair price for a mattress that brings together technology and comfort to also be a great value is just too much for any of you to pass up. It combines springy latex and supportive memory foams to create an award-winning sleep surface with just the right sink and the perfect bounce. Time magazine named it one of the best inventions of 2015. It is an award-winning mattress that absolutely will not disappoint. Try Casper for 100 nights risk-free in your own home. If you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund you everything. Free shipping and returns to the U.S. and Canada. And for listeners of this show, you can get a special $50 toward any mattress by going to Casper.com/Buck, Casper.com/Buck, and using Buck as the code.